All right, the Historical Landmarks Commission for meeting for December 17th, 2025 shall now commence. Could we please get the call to order? Oh, we just did, I'm sorry, I mean the roll call.
Forrest Ackerley.
Present.
Bob McNary is absent. Eric Gleason.
Here.
Victor Johnson.
Here.
Tom Jamay.
Present.
Julie Reynolds.
Here.
And Scott Randall is absent.
Thank you, Crystal. Please all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, everyone. Commissioner members, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda, or are there changes that need to be made to our agenda as it currently stands? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. All those in favor of the agenda as presented, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Next up on the agenda tonight is approval of the minutes of our November 19th, 2025 minutes. Has everyone here had an opportunity to review the minutes? Yeah, okay. If there's any changes, I would accept a motion for some change. If not, I would accept a motion for approving the minutes as they are.
I'll move we approve the minutes as presented.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Tom. So we have approval for the minutes dated November 19th, 2025. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Next up on our agenda tonight is the public comment. This is for anyone in the at the meeting here tonight that would like to speak on something that is not in our current agenda tonight. Please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the records.
Perfect. My name is William Lennox, and I live at 1005 Federal Street. And I'm here to support my neighbor, but I'm also here to just bring up a minor concern, but I think it's important for economics and tourist development, which are wonderful signs that many of our some of us have on our houses and on the buildings, historic buildings throughout the community, that sort of describe what the buildings are, their history. And many of them are dilapidated. They're so faded out now, nobody can read them. And I've come and talked a few times over the last couple of years, mentioning whether there's a plan to replace them. And I'm hoping that maybe, and the reason why I'm here today is sincerely just to encourage you to continue to work on that and to try to make it happen, because I think it loses something. And, we try to tout having a lot of people coming around and walking and making it a tour place. And many of you on this commission are completely aware of that. But anyway, that's why I'm here. And I hope you've heard me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on a subject tonight? Please state your name and address for the record.
My address has been given. I live in the Dalles, Oregon. Richard Wolf. I've seen this. This is from the Salem board. And in your future agendas, I would like if you would consider, if I can read this thing here. At least 5 of the members must meet the United States Secretary of Interior's historic preservation qualifications to extend that professionals meeting those standards are available in the community. In making such appointments, the mayor should consider the applicant's qualification in the fields of archaeology, architectural history, conservation, cultural anthropology, curation, engineering, folklore, historic architecture, historic landscape architecture, historic preservation planning, and history. Historic Landmarks Commission rules, Historic Landmarks Commission work plan. And we're the end of the Oregon Trail, not the end of our buildings. I own the old Tony's building. It was our first bank. It was our first post office. There was a man named Joseph Chenoweth that worked there. One of the first two, mailmen. Chenoweth was named after. Our history's being lost, piece by piece. And I would like for you, if you would consider this in your future decisions, public, represent us.
Thank you very much. We have one more. Please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Michael Wacker. I live at 4588 Orchard Road in the Dalles. I would like, if possible, have recognition of why Cirrhosis Park is called Cirrhosis Park. Ever since I started volunteering at Fort Dalles Museum and realized why it's called Cirrhosis Park, I think those ladies from the Cirrhosis Club should have recognition and just an explanation of why it's called Cirrhosis Park. I've asked many residents of the Dalles why, and they have no idea. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience like to speak on something that is not on the agenda tonight? Seeing no one else, we will move on to the next section of our agenda, which is the public hearing. And this was continued from our November 19th meeting, where we were reviewing HLC application 222-25. And we wanted to get a little bit more information on things. So before we go to the public hearing section, I'm going to go ahead and read the procedures for the public hearing. And then, do we have any staff report update on this? Okay, thank you. Okay, now is the time specified for the Historic Landmarks Commission to conduct a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider the following matter, which is HLC application 222-25. The substantive criteria upon which the Historic Landmarks Commission will base its decision in this matter are contained in the city's comprehensive plan and land use development ordinances. A public hearing is required by law and certain rules apply. First and foremost, you must be recognized by the chair in order to speak and present testimony. When recognized by the chair, please state your name and mailing address for the record. The hearing is required by law to be recorded. Generally, the public hearing procedure is as follows. Prior to the public hearing, a determination will be made of the qualifications of the commission members and allow for challenges to be made from the audience. I will open the public hearing with a staff report. The purpose of the staff report is to further identify the applicable criteria of the application being considered and to provide background information about the application. After the staff report, we will hear testimony from the proponents, those persons in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from the opponents, those not in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from anyone else who wishes to offer testimony or ask questions. Then, to honor the right of rebuttal, we will again hear from those in favor of the application. To expedite the hearing, the commission members may ask questions of the persons as they testify. When this process has been concluded, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. During the hearing, some important standards apply. First, all of those who testify must hold their testimony to the decision criteria. As in all land use hearings, there are a complete set of rules, procedures, and criteria that we must follow. Second, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the commission members and the parties an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Third, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to the proposed conditions of approval with detail specific enough to allow the city to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in the circuit court. Fourth, prior to the conclusion of the public hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. If such a request is made, the law states the commission must grant the request by either continuing the hearing to a time and date at least 7 days from the date of the initial hearing, or the record must be kept open for a period of at least 7 days. These are the rules. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Have the members of the commission had any ex-parte contact, conflicts of interest, or bias which would prevent you from rendering an impartial decision on this matter?
No.
Seeing none. Does anyone in the audience wish to challenge the qualifications of any of the members of the commission? Mr. Wolf, please come up to the microphone.
Richard Wolf, the Dalles, Oregon. I don't think there's a qualification list for the galley. If there is, I haven't on a term limit. The number of times that you can hold a term. We have a person in here that's coming up on 5 terms. That's 20 years on there. We need the opportunity to come up here and be represented our buildings. I've been a builder my whole life. My trademark is to not look like a remodel. I understand the building and of buildings, and our town is hurting for this. I'm watching a 1938 fort disappear. Our commercial district, I think it's from 1865 to 1938 when the port was built during the height of the Depression, right before World War II. We're a breadbasket. We have enormous history. Enormous. That's not been validated.
Hi, excuse me. Can you hear me? Richard. Hi, Chair. I'm sorry for interrupting. This is Jonathan Kara. I don't know that we've met. Hi, Richard. It's Jonathan, the city attorney. Hi, this is the part of the meeting and the hearing where the public is able to challenge the qualifications of the commissioners, but and I know it sounds like they're academic qualifications, but what it's referring to, this is a quasi-judicial public hearing. This refers to their whether they disclose conflicts of interest or bias or ex parte communications. And so if you're intending on offering
what does that mean?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you. So it means whether you think that they can render a partial decision, an impartial decision on this application, or if they've had information that they might be relying on that's beyond the staff report, those kinds of things. When it comes to their administrative qualifications, this is for the chair and for you, Richard, as well. That's the kind of thing that is more appropriately brought up later in the hearing when the chair opens the door for public testimony on this application or on anything that's relevant. But for right now, just this first part right here, this is just to see about like, hey, does anybody in the audience or anybody really in the room would like to challenge them, any of the commissioners that are sitting in front of you for having a bias that makes them in a position that they can't render a fair decision. And so I'm not so sure that any of the testimony you're offering now will be in the record, and I want it to be in the record. And so I would just recommend that you save it for later in the hearing when there's an opportunity to testify on that. Hopefully that helps.
No, it didn't help, but I appreciate you. I don't know. I don't think you get a lot of this. I'm not complaining. I would like to know what the qualifications are. Do you have a record of qualifications for this that
Yep. Again, I
you
think
could give to me after this?
Chair,
this-
if I might, I just want to mention, so it's a misnomer almost. We say the qualifications of the commissioners. It doesn't mean academic qualifications. It doesn't mean administrative. It's a bit of an older term. What it's referring to is whether they're qualified to be impartial. Impartial.
Okay.
So they're acting as a
It
judge.
didn't
right
say
now.
that.
It
That's
didn't
why
say
I'm
that. You're
okay.
right. You're absolutely right. It did not say that.
Okay.
And so that's why I wanted to. I'm sorry to interrupt everybody.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Chair.
Thank you
you.
all.
With that clarification, does anyone in the audience wish to challenge the qualifications of any of the members of the commission? Hearing none, we will proceed. The public hearing is now open. May we please have the staff report?
Thank you. Need to start the slideshow. How do you start the slideshow? For the record, I'm Sandy Freund, Senior Planner with the City of the Dalles and Historic Landmarks Coordinator. I'd like to start the slideshow here, if I can get it to come up. There we go. Okay. So this item was continued from the November meeting, and I'm just going to go through most of this for the sake of the audience purpose that was not here in attendance at that meeting. This is a request by Catherine Montag for her property located at 420 East 8th Street to remove an existing garage structure and replace it with a new garage. And the garage is listed as a non-contributing detached structure in the National Register of Historic Places. The property is zoned high-density residential. It is not located in a historic district. This is an overhead view of the property, 420 East 8th Street. And again, applicant wishes to remove the existing non-contributing garage and replace it with a new garage that's larger, 20 by 26 in dimension, and to match with the paint and materials of the existing residence. The applicant states the existing garage is in poor condition, poses a safety hazard, it has a crumbling wood floor, no foundation, and it's creating instability. The proposed garage, the new garage is proposed to match again in colors and materials to the home, which is a resident, historic residence, the site of the Reuter residence circa 1890, with major renovations in 1909. These are just some photos of the garage on the top left and then the home in the back. I want to state that earlier this week, I believe it was, additional information had been received from Commissioner Gleason regarding the history of the garages in the Dalles, also known as auto houses. That additional information should be in your agenda packet. At their height, the auto houses numbered 64 in the Dalles. However, there's only 3 that remain, according to the information submitted. Also, at the last meeting, staff was asked if we had heard back from SHPO regarding the garage being listed as a non-contributing structure. And I did hear back from SHPO, and they had indicated that no action is required from SHPO on this matter as to whether or not a non-contributing structure should be listed as contributing, and that there is a formal process to amend the National Register. It's extremely time-consuming, and the outcomes are not guaranteed. The SHPO representative emphasized the strongest regulations do occur at the local level, and we are certified local government, so he's referring to us, and recommended that the Historic Landmarks Commission members rely on the established regulations found in the Dalles Municipal Code, Chapter 11. City Legal Counsel has advised that the commission must go through the proper designation process if it feels a non-contributing resource should be designated differently. However, that process must include the property owner consent to proceed. And there's a memo in your packet that explains all of this in detail, and that's available. It's public information for the public as well. And these are just more pictures of the garage. And I did receive from the applicant, this was in the application packet, the schematic of the proposed garage on the left. The lines were hard to see. There's a site plan on the right, and it shows the proposed location of the garage in that bottom left area of the property in the alleyway. I did receive from the applicant's contractor, I believe it was yesterday, a better renditions. So this is what the proposed garage would look like. They did indicate in the application that it would have hardy plank siding and match and materials and colors as much as possible to the existing home. And on the right side is just the outline of the garage with where the door and the window would be placed. The garage that's there now also has a door and a window. So with that, I'm going to conclude this presentation by just stating that staff recommends the Historic Landmarks Commission either adopt resolution number 207-25, granting approval with conditions for the demolition of the existing non-contributing detached garage structure, or delay the demolition for a defined period of time as set in the Dalles Municipal Code while alternatives are explored. And I can go into detail on the code section if you want to see that. And this is also at the bottom of page 2 in your memo as it's outlined. So with that, I conclude my presentation. I'm open for questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Sandy.
Thank you.
Does any of the commission members have any questions for Sandy? Any clarification? Eric?
I do. I had a question, just if we do go with the delay, what time period are we talking about?
Well, I believe it's 120 days, but I'm going to click on this link I have and it can take us to the code. I did that on purpose because there's no way to memorize all this. It's quite lengthy. Oh, and it's not showing on here. All right, well, let me just look. I'm sorry. Yeah. Let's see. Application. It's complicated. It talks about the commission may suspend an application for demolition permit if it determines the suspension is in the interest of preserving historical values. In this case, issuance of the permit shall be suspended. That would be the demolition permit for a period fixed by the commission, but not exceeding 120 days from the original date of the application. And I would have to look and see when the original date of the application was. I'll have to look that up. Let me see. And there's 3 other instances in here. Within the suspension period, the commission may request an extension of the suspension period by the city council. If the city council determines that there is a feasible reuse program or project underway which could result in public or private acquisition of the historical building or site, the council may extend the suspension period for an additional period not exceeding 180 days for a total of not more than 300 days from the date of the original application. So it looks like it's a 300-day maximum, but there's quite a bit of processes to go through. And if you want to go down that path, I can do some more research and elaborate further if we come back to that.
Thanks for that clarification.
Sure.
Do we have any further questions for Sandy tonight? Any clarifications? No? We're all good? Thank you very much, Sandy.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, following our staff report and our questions to her, does anyone in the audience tonight wish to testify in favor of the application? Please come up to the microphone. Yeah, the applicant, yeah. Please come up to the microphone and state your name and address.
And I also have some neighbors here, and I have something from Bob and Joanna Stanek that live next door to me, and I could read it to you at some point whenever you want. I was just showing Sandy that the date I filed this was September 12th. For your information, I have a receipt here of when it was filed. Staring me right in the eye. Anyway, I would like to park my car in a garage, and I can't do that now. And obviously I've taken care of my home, and I believe in the historic value of things. This does not contribute to this house. And so my question is, it's also part in the Stanek's yard, and we want to move it over a little bit so they have a normal type of yard because it's an eyesore. And I think Jim Foster was here last time, another neighbor, and he also feels it's an eyesore and could be dangerous because it's, yeah, it's standing. Last night could have been the end of it. It may have not have had this hearing. We just never know on those things. It just doesn't contribute to the home. You don't see it when you're driving up this thing. My house kind of sticks out. I comply with the paint colors and the things, and I don't want it to look weird either. I want it to be functional though, and cars are different today and they need a place to plug it in. I mean, I don't mind putting a plaque out there or something if you want to, of saying what auto house was. I really had no idea when it was built or what it was for. So I'm just asking the committee to allow me to, add value to my home. And it looks shabby as far as I can see. And the other ones that they showed, I thought that looked really bad too. In our community, when they come by and people do, like Bill said, read the sign in front of my house. It's a beautiful home, and it's not going to take away from that at all. And I'm going to do my best to keep the colors and everything the same. I just want the opportunity to do so. And would you like me to read from the Staneks?
Yes, if you wish, please.
They weren't able to be here, so. Okay. Katie Montag is our direct neighbor to the east of us. Her garage, they put in quotes, separates our backyards, and the condition it is now is no use for anything except for wild creatures and feral cats. And we're very surprised the windstorm didn't bring it down. We know Katie wants to have it demolished and replaced. The issue is if she replaced it with the same dimensions, she wouldn't be able to use it as a place to park her car. When her house was built, cars were a lot smaller. We know the professional who's chosen to tear down and build her garage, and he is beyond capable of rebuilding a structure that will functional and fit with style and year of Katie's house. Rebuilding the garage so that it can function as a place to park a car from this time period would only improve the property in the neighborhood. Anyone who could assist Katie in going forward with her plans of the new garage would not be disappointed they did so. It would be perfectly lovely and functional. Sincerely, Bob and Joanna Stanek. And another neighbor is here, and Bill lives in my neighborhood also. Did I just turn it on? So I'm asking for it to be taken down, and I'm not going to consent. So the thing with the SHPA thing, I don't believe, I want a functional garage. I don't want to keep it there. If somebody wants to come and remove it at their own expense, set it up over at the Dalles Museum. I mean, I'm all for history and that's why I bought the house originally. But it just has outdone its time and does not serve the purposes of what it originally was built. And I will keep my house up. I've had to do things to my house on the outside because of the age of it and things falling, like the upper deck was falling, and I made sure I did it right. Get that. So if there's any questions for me, I think people have worked with Scott Ziggin. I have pronounce his last name. He's a great guy, and he will do as much as he can to make it look. I don't think it contributes to my historic value of my home. But then it's an eyesore and there's a lot of critters that go underneath. Any questions? For me?
Yeah, any questions from commissioners? Eric?
Yeah, hi. I'm also kind of a neighbor. We live a block and a half away or so over on Case Street. I've got kind of a soft spot for these kind of,
Have it.
well, I don't have any place to put it. But, I kind of recognize the place that these structures served in our communities. We worked on restoring the building that was behind the Zimmerman House, which is now where the original Wasco County Courthouse was. And that's an earlier vintage, it's 1880s, but it, served as a carpenter shop and a shed and all sorts of things. And if you looked at that when we started and what it looks like now, you wouldn't kind of recognize the two almost. It was, well beyond the state of your your current garage. And so I don't know. I think I was just wondering if there's a way that we can have both, but maybe
Like if you want to move it up to the museum so you can have an auto house. I mean, I understand. I totally agree that we want to
Mhm.
keep these things. It's just not functional anymore. And I'm not sure what jurisdiction you guys have to tell me what to do with a non-contributing factor. And so I'd like to know, that's another thing that's kind of interesting
Right.
to me. We aren't in a district, it's non-contributing factor. I'm not consenting, so.
so as far as I've been, as Richard Wolf pointed out, on this commission probably longer than I should have been.
Well, I think it's
but-
good because you look up the history. I think that's important.
Yeah, but one of the things we've traditionally done is we've reviewed changes at National Register listed properties, the whole property. So like Fort Dalles, we look at the whole property. Other people's houses, it might be the house that's listed, but we look at the fence and all of those kind of things. So that's kind of why it kind of comes under our purview, at least traditionally. It's an interesting when we had talked to the State Historic Preservation Office, they said it was kind of an interesting conundrum, right? Because there was clearly an error in the National Register listing form because it listed that as non-historic, non-contributing. When it's clearly historic, you could
Yeah, you
maybe,
found that, yeah.
you could maybe make a argument for whether it's contributing or not contributing. But so there's that error, and it's just kind of how do we deal with that?
Right.
With that error, but
And I
it's
fine putting a plaque up and having the picture of the original or whatever. It's not functional.
right. And
It's creating more chaos of animals and.
and I was just wondering if there's a way for you to both have the new garage and to preserve the old garage. And
Do that with the size of that garage.
well, I mean, just by shifting the new one over to a footprint that's to the east of
It would
the
look
existing.
really awkward, I think. I mean, it wouldn't look right. I think it's just a normal garage and Angela lives behind me and they have a beautiful garage. It goes with their house and maybe they had an auto house at one point. But it's just not functional. I'm in the alley. I'm under those dang trees. Those trees are, look
Yeah.
at what I picked up today. Go
Massive.
drive by right now. I mean, I've been hit twice, because I park strategically or move it over to her house or the standings to get it out of there because, those trees are massive. And I've had thousands of dollars worth of damage to my cars because I need a garage. And, you know, it's a new age too. We're plugging our cars in. So I'll need to have electrical to be able to do that too. I have to have. Yeah, I understand. I agree. I love the historic, that's where we bought the house. But I just don't think it's contributing anything to what the value of that house is.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm sorry.
No, I
Yeah.
guess I disagree because I also have a soft spot for old cars. But but really it does kind of tell kind of a fascinating story of the Dalles because it was built right when
Yeah.
the
it
automobile
was
came
interesting.
to the
I
Dalles.
agree.
Yeah.
Totally
So
agree.
it would be great if we could come up with a way to preserve it, whether on your lot or at another location.
Yeah, if someone wants to come and move it, I don't want to take the expense of that. It's going to cost me a lot to put the foundation down and to do it all up to code, what Scott's going to do for me. Waited a long time to do this. Trying to get the kids out of college and
Yeah.
anyway, that's where I am. I don't know if Bill's my neighbor and Angela's here also, if you have questions for me.
Were there any further questions? Yes.
Make not so much questions, but comments. So, thank you for having an amazing home. I actually didn't know that was your place, and
Oh, you didn't?
it's one of the most incredible houses in the Dalles. So, and B, you could have knocked that thing down the middle of the night, and so thanks for doing the right thing. Yeah, yeah. I think
May not have if I would have known all this was going to happen. Just
fair
kidding.
point. No, I think we understand that. I think I agree with Eric. I think it is special and it was misclassified. So that's kind of unfortunate, but that's not your fault, right? I think at that point there was like 6,000 cars in the whole United States of America.
Yeah,
I mean, it's really rare and it is special. There's no denying it. But I don't think it's unreasonable to want what you want. And I worked with Scott on my historic property, and
he's tried to make some of the lines look.
he's excellent. He's top shelf, and he's capable, and he cares about doing things properly and all those things. So you have the right guy. It's just, if there's some place that
If somebody wants to move it, put it up at the, I mean, I don't care. I don't think he's gonna be able to pour concrete right now. I don't know. Who knows what the weather's doing, but this started back in September.
I don't want to jam you up for another 90, 120
But
days.
then we're getting into weather issues too. So,
so maybe that is the middle ground. Maybe if we can find a place to put that
yeah, it would be at your expense though, because that would
on
just
my expense.
Yeah. somebody's, I mean, I'm willing to work with things like that.
Clearly,
Yeah.
clearly you're being reasonable about this. It's just a difference of opinion. But I think that's kind of where I'm at.
Thank you, Victor. Any further questions? Seeing none. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, Sandy.
Can I just add, for the record, Sandy Freund, I just want to add about, and if we were to add or have the applicant build the garage in a different location, we do have lot coverage requirements, 60%. I believe she would be under that, but there's also separation of structures. They have to be 10 feet from one another on a property. She have to meet the setbacks. And the sycamore trees, at least one of them, I saw those listed on the historic register, so that's another, yeah. So that, so that adds another interesting facet to this whole discussion. I just wanted to mention the lot coverage requirements and whatnot.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak in favor of the application tonight? Please state your name and address for the record.
Angela Wright, and my address is 913 Laughlin Street. So my garage faces her garage, no house, I guess. Yeah, it's just falling down. I'm surprised it hasn't actually crumbled. Wind and the weather. I think she deserves a garage just like everybody else does to park her car. And she was right. Those trees probably are going to damage her actually. Yeah, oh, again, that's right. It did happen once. So I'm in support of her, not torn down or moved. I understand the historic reason. I have a historic home. It's not listed, but I value that too.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to testify in favor of the application tonight? Please. Please state your name and your address for the record.
Bill Lennox, 1005 Federal Street. And I guess my comments are that I would concur with everything that Katie Montag and the neighbors have talked about. At this particular point, it just seems like it's on its last legs. It could have fallen down at any moment. I think it's almost, to keep it as a historical thing, is almost a danger, because you really can't have too many people walking in and through it and around it very well without suffering some sort of potential liability, I would suppose. So therefore, it would have to be either improved or fixed or done something with. But more importantly, I think we're so fortunate to have somebody like the owner, Katie Montag, who is very sensitive to the historical nature of the Dalles. She is more than responsible in trying to keep her property up and respects the whole idea of the historical nature of it all. And I think that the fact that she's even thinking about and hiring a contractor to do her best job to make whatever new structure would go there to fit in is just one of those big pluses that we have in our community, and that we should be lucky for. If we had more people like that being and spending as much time as she has and she's thinking about in terms of making it fit in, then our whole community would be a lot better off overall. So I think, I guess I just can't say more than to support whatever she's planning to do, because I believe it will be respectful and it will blend in quite well. And to be perfectly honest with you, once the old place is gone and a new place is there, it will just contribute to the community more than the old one would if it were to remain. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Sandy?
I'm sorry, again, for the record, Sandy Freund. I forgot to mention that we did put out a revised staff report and we added finding number 11. It's the last finding before the recommendation, just to clarify the latest information regarding SHPO and other information we learned.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Anyone else would like to speak in favor of the application tonight?
So Mike Wacker, the Dalles. So what would happen if it collapsed tonight? What would the rule be? Could it just be cleaned up and build a new garage?
I don't have an answer for that.
Because to me, it seems like it's just a matter of time after looking at the pictures.
Yeah.
So it's going to happen. You might as well do it in a safe way. So I support new garage and removing the old structure.
Thank you. Got a tally somewhere. All right. I think that was pretty much everyone in the audience for it, but anyone else wish to testify in favor of the application? Seeing none. We will then go on to the testimony from opponents. Does anyone in the audience tonight wish to testify in opposition to this application?
I don't like that word opposition. I love everything about the property. And I love the effort that you guys are doing. We need to keep a historic landmarks commission. And we need to follow the guidelines of the state. 11.12. We don't follow these guidelines, we could lose our nation as a historic landmark commission. Is that right? Mr. Carrera, are you up there?
I'm up here.
Okay, Chair, could we maybe put it in so that whoever's in the meeting could be seen up there, or because it sets my pacemaker off when he does that to me, I think. Gotta
The fact that you
recover from
can't
it.
see him or the fact that,
I don't think he knows how loud his speaker is and how much it startles me or anybody
I think
else.
that's we might have the speakers up a little loud in here. There's
Okay,
some- We can.
just a
turn those down.
consideration on that. I'll read this. Chapter 11.12 utilizes the following criteria. In the Dalles, Oregon, historic buildings are governed by the Dalles Municipal Designation criteria. A resource is deemed significant if it is associated with past trends, events, or values that shape the city's history, or with lives that of influential people. Architecturally, it must embody the distinguishing characteristics and of a style, period, or method of construction, or represent the work of a master or an architect. Contributing resource status to be considered. Contributing, a building must have been constructed within the period of significance of 1860 1938 for a commercial district in which we have chain link fences. Historic integrity. In its location, design, materials, and workmanship. Review criteria for alterations, section 11.12.070. City adopts a Secretary of the Interior standards requiring that properties be used for their historic purpose with minimal change to defined features. Deteriorated features must be repaired rather than replaced whenever possible, and any new work must match the original in design, texture, and visual quality. The Historic Landmarks Commission oversees these regulations to protect the city's housing stock and commercial core from inappropriate alterations or destruction. This building is a hip roof pyramid. It's a pyramid hip roof building. It was constructed in 1905 or 1909. I've heard both. For carriage, it has a wooden floor. How many garages have wooden floors with oil? At each end of the truss rafter is 3-angle cut with a freaking handsaw. They were master carpenters. They were called dime a dozen. They were tradesmen like me, not just a construction worker. We lived and breathed it. It's what we ate. We love what we do. You turn that into a Home Depot product like this room, not representing the foyer downstairs at all, is what I don't want any longer. I understand design and concept. It's a very beautiful piece of property. It deserves the best. I'm not sure if we have it in this town anymore. I graduated here in 72. I left to become a builder. That's all I've ever done after the Navy. I love that. When I went to look at this piece of property day before yesterday, it stopped me in my tracks. But granted, the hip roof pyramid design doesn't match bungalow houseman. But it was built at a later time by masters, perhaps the same ones. They're kids. I love it. I love everything about it. And I have a design in my mind that would include the 10-foot separation. I would also question the ex parte thing if you're still up there. The wizard, I'm going to call you if you don't see your picture. Is the design characteristics and the guidelines for the code requirements, the building roof system is of most importance. On this building, the molding at the top is of special design. It matches, as was mentioned at the last meeting by the archaeologist. The siding matches. These chippers or these shapers were handmade back in the day, and they practically, it's been a long time since we've been able to duplicate. It's made like a piece of furniture, clear vertical grain fur, old growth. It's beautiful workmanship. It's to be appreciated, not destroyed, please.
Thank you. Is there anyone further that wishes to testify in opposition of the application tonight? Seeing none. So that is, does anyone now wish to speak in favor of what was, in light of what was just said by the opposition? Seeing none, we will move along. Does the commission have enough information to make a decision tonight? Okay, then the public hearing portion of our meeting is now closed. We will debate amongst ourselves. Anyone want to start?
I was wondering if we could ask staff to put the conditions of approval up
Mhm.
so that we can see them.
With, you thinking number 11 specifically?
Yeah,
Well, that's a finding, actually.
Oh, that's a fine.
Let me figure out where it's online, right, the packets? I'm gonna go online then. Unless you want to email it to me quickly. You can't, okay, that's fine. Give me a second, please.
I believe it's pages 27 through 32. Did you want to borrow this for a sec? Well, we're getting that pulled up and Eric's reviewing that. Victor, Tom, did you two have anything to add? Julie, you as well? No?
Have enough to make a motion.
Okay. Want to share what you're thinking?
I'm in favor.
There's the conditions there.
Want to see what the conditions are.
Yeah, sorry, if I make it bigger, let me try to make it bigger without. Okay, let's see. Is that good? Okay. I can read them out loud if you like, or.
Yeah, that might be good.
Okay, so the first condition is work shall be completed in substantial conformance to the pictures and proposals as submitted and reviewed. Number 2 is the applicant shall submit plans for demolition permit to the city of the Dalles. Number 3, the applicant shall submit plans for a building permit to the city of the Dalles and then Wasco County building codes. Number 4, the applicant shall submit a physical constraints permit to be reviewed and approved by the city engineer for all cut and/or fill, grading, and groundwork required for the construction of the new detached garage structure, and the total amount of cut and fill exceeds 50 cubic yards. Number 5 is the new replacement garage exterior materials and colors shall be compatible with the historic residence and match as closely as possible as proposed. Number 6, if historical artifacts over 75 years old are found on the site in relation to the proposed project resulting from land disturbance, excavation, or grading activities, All applicable state laws and regulations shall be followed in accordance with the guidance of the state archaeologist. Number 7, the applicant is required to notify the Community Development Department of any alteration of approved plans. And that was it.
Is that what you wanted to see?
Yeah, yeah. Just thought maybe there was one more, but I'm not sure. Well, it looks like it's just a different format than this.
So, anyone have any thoughts or discussion about those conditions of approval for this application?
Yeah, question for Sandy.
Yeah, please.
So if someone were to want to salvage this garage with the applicant's approval and permission and all that, will we need to modify anything in the staff recommendation, or that would happen outside of any approval?
Right. So the staff recommendation is based on the approving the demolition with the conditions of approval that are applicable to the demo permit and then pulling permits to place the new garage. I think it would be something that would has to be determined between the parties interested in having the garage moved or salvaged and the property owner.
I've never pulled a demo permit. There's probably no requirements as far as salvaging historic architectural things in this situation, because it's not.
No, I've not looked at a demo
Wouldn't-
permit. That's
imagine.
Costco building codes would be involved in that. I mean, yeah, historic structures are moved. Maybe Commissioner Gleason has a little more insight as to that.
Oh, gosh. I doubt if the building code has anything
Yeah.
about salvaging. I know the Portland one does, but I don't think ours does. Well, yeah, I was wondering if there was some other condition we could put on there about perhaps encouraging the homeowner to work with third parties to either salvage the structure or.
I think I'm going to defer to legal counsel on that because I don't know if we can phrase a condition with the words encourage. Typically, they're shalls, not mays. Shall, they must do. Jonathan, if you're still there,
I'm still here.
thank you.
I've lowered my voice a little bit. I'm sorry, my camera's not on. I'm speaking to you hands-free. I'm on Highway 84 and it's a bit treacherous out here. And so maybe on the next meeting, I'll have my camera on, but happy to be here still. To the commissioner's question, demolition is a very interesting subject generally, but when it comes to the conditions that the commission is entitled to, if they find substantial evidence in the record to support the imposition of a condition, you're kind of limited by a couple things. In the context of a demo permit, you have pretty much three options. You have documentation, right? If it's something that's been designated or contributing or non-contributing or otherwise, but if it falls in the HLC's jurisdiction, like this garage does, documentation can be a condition of approval of the demolition permit. The other can be salvage as well. So that's number two, salvage of certain archaeological objects or just things of cultural history that happen to be present, that can be turned into a condition. And then the third is interpretive measures, but all of them have to directly mitigate the impacts of the demolition. And so they're all tied in this world of preserving information and acknowledging significance without contradicting the underlying legal status of the structure, right? So in this case, it's not listed as a contributing resource. So with that in mind, maybe my answer would be a little bit different if this was a contributing resource here, the garage itself, not the property. When it comes to salvage, is there something the commission is hoping is salvaged, or specifically in this case, is there anything in the record that would show that there's something worth salvaging?
Oh, yeah, I think there's definitely tons of things there worth salvaging and worth documenting. I mean, it's a rare structure, right? There were 5 auto houses in town in 1909. There's 3 of the 5 left. This one's maybe the least modified of the 3. So I think there's information inherent in that building that's worth collecting and documenting. If it can't be salvaged or reused, I mean, it seems like there's kind of like a whole tier of things, right? The first thing that you want to make sure that you collect is the documentation, right? At the bare minimum. The next would be salvaging materials, and then the third would be trying to work some way to reuse or remove the structure as a whole. So,
Sure.
I mean,
So typically, so thank you for that, Commissioner. That's Commissioner Gleason, right?
yes.
Thank you, Eric. In this context, you know, what salvage, frankly, typically covers, and in fact should be limited to for this garage, early auto house, it has to be, you know, defensible, right? And so you can't just say, well, we'd like to salvage the whole garage, right? That's a little bit, I think, the opposite of salvaging. But in this case, you know, removal and salvage of like I would say identifiable original materials, like original dimensional lumber framing members where it's safe to do so, or siding boards if they're original, or original doors, or hardware or windows if there's any that are left. But we could, yeah, you know, and frankly, incorporation of some salvaged elements into a new garage would be cool. That seems fine. Or alternatively, donating them to a local historical organization. That's pretty much it, though. I can't imagine that there is much more than that, considering the size of the garage, right? But again, if you want a good list for a condition here, it would be, you know, salvaging identifiable original materials that are like, you know, lumber, or siding boards, or doors or hardware or windows, and not all the lumber, right? But just lumber that, you know, has some sort of value to it, not necessarily economical value, but more like historical value. But aside from that, I can't imagine there's much else in this garage. So hopefully that covers everything, for the most part, everything that is appropriate for a condition of approval here.
Yeah, please, Victor.
Yeah, I guess what I would like to see is to see anything that could be salvaged done without delaying the project or exposing K to any kind of liability, like just somebody going in there with a hammer and getting themselves hurt or something, you know. So if we can save what we can and not inconvenience the applicant, that I think that would be what I'd like to see.
So you're thinking of adding a condition of approval to say something like any original materials or hardware should be reused or repurposed if possible?
Well, I think, yeah, if there's an opportunity to, not that it has to happen, but if there's an opportunity to, we should pursue that. That should be attempted. Or
I agree. Don?
Guess what's the timeline on the new project?
Well, it was supposed to start in October. I mean, I haven't had, you know, a garage, obviously, for 30 years.
What does that look like? How could we save them? Who would save them? The Dalles Museum comes to mind, but go ahead.
Originally, when I talked to contractors about doing it, if they could use some of the wood or use any of it, and none of them were, I don't know about Scott. It was a couple other people that came by when I was trying to get bids, but it was kind of like, no, it's too hard to use, and the shape of them and how they're built. It's kind of like my deck. I had to buy really expensive wood, have it the same fitting like it was, and it was like 10 times what it would cost. And I was just doing the exposed wood on my front porch. It was so expensive, just the wood, because it had to be certain way made, specially made. So I don't know how it's built. I'm not a builder. So he said, and I don't know, like he was saying something about the roof. I don't know, because the roof's almost gone. Inside, it's what you think it looks like inside.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like I said, Scott's excellent at what he does, but contractors are not historic preservationists. You know, it's like they'll tear it down and build
That's
it.
all I got from.
Yeah, they'll just tear it down and build it. It's easy.
different, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, one man's trash is another man's treasure, so to speak. So
I'm happy to work.
clearly,
Yeah.
clearly, like I said, you're being very reasonable. So, but I would hate to see a bulldozer go through there and just like get it gone in a day if we can salvage something that somebody can use.
I think the doors and when a garage door was added either. I mean, it probably wasn't there originally, was it?
Yeah, they must have had some other kind, that's
It's kind of
clearly a
tiny.
relation.
Doesn't all the way open either.
Yeah, that's a replacement door.
The side door may have been done differently too. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like maybe an original side door. A lot of times those early garage doors were built in vertical panels, and then there was a track that they ran on that went
Okay.
inside, and then they'd kind of wrap around on
Right.
the inside.
The one behind me, the Staniks, when they bought that property next to Angela's house, that was that kind of a door.
Yeah.
So I don't know what, this one doesn't shed and it doesn't really
Yeah.
dangerous as it is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thank you. Julie, did you have anything?
No, thank you.
Eric?
Well, do you think we could add a condition of approval that says something like, in recognition of the historic nature of the Otto House, we encourage the landowner to work, the property owner to work with local interested parties for the documentation, salvage, and reuse of the building in a
Kind of
time-
crafted
in a
something.
timely manner.
If I may, I can, Jonathan, I crafted a condition that now takes into consideration Commissioner Gleason's verbiage, but I can read it out and see what you think and the commission.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, I put in recognition of the historical nature of the Auto House, the applicant shall
Been brutal.
All right, where's mine? The applicant shall salvage, to the extent possible, any original materials limited to siding boards, doors, hardware, windows, or lumber that has historical value. And I need to wrap it up somehow with a bow.
Yeah, I think that's heading in the right track. That's heading in the right track. I think I would want a couple bumpers on that. So
Okay,
can I take a stab at it? And
Please,
you tell
yes.
me. So how about prior to demo, applicant shall document and salvage representative original materials from the existing garage, including original framing, members, sliding, or siding, not sliding, sorry, siding, doors, or hardware, where such materials are A, identifiable, and B, can be safely removed. And C, I guess there wouldn't be another and, but it'd be A, B, and C. So identifiable, safely removed, and where such salvage is reasonable, right? I mean, nobody wants to make this applicant spend, her life savings just to salvage something that is completely beyond, salvage effectively. And so it has to be, commercially reasonable in light of the project and the impact of this demolition, right? And if feasible, and I guess if commercially reasonable, I would recommend, to the degree possible or encouraged, I guess is the right way to think about this. And so maybe that's when we can tie in what you just said, Sandy, for the condition. You can encourage that reuse on site with the development of the new garage. But certainly, right, if it's not structurally sound and if it's too expensive, then no, we can't, right? So that's the important bumper that I wanted to mention. Does that
hopefully I
help?
captured that. Yeah, that helps. I might ask you to rephrase the end of the bumper here. I've got, prior to the demo, applicant shall document and salvage representative materials from the existing garage, including original lumber framing members, where such materials are A, identifiable, B, safely removed, and C, where such salvage is reasonable if feasible, and commercially, blah, 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 encourage reuse on site. I lost the verbiage after commercially.
I lost it too. I mean, I think the idea here is again, we have the YouTube video. We can go back and write it up perfectly, but
That's true.
you know, the intent
Maybe
behind this, yeah.
commercially viable?
That was it. Thank
Viable
you.
be the
Viable.
word you want?
Please, yes. Come up to the microphone.
Reasonably commercially viable is what I would recommend. That's
I
the
guess
standard.
I would ask, what jurisdiction, you're the attorney, you have over this building legally? And then also I would ask, who determines that, all those things that you just said? Is it the board here? Is it me? Is it Sandy? Is it? That's what I don't, yeah, I just don't know. So I
So-
mean, legally, where does it stand for jurisdiction purposes? If you tell me to do something, I'm gonna work with you. I mean, Victor knows
Yeah.
me, I'm gonna work with you, but I don't want to be told I have to do something and then I find out that little corner was something that I didn't know that. I mean, so who determines it? What legal ground do you have jurisdiction over this piece of my property to tell me to do anything, actually? And I mean, I want to be reasonable, but I also want to know how you get jurisdiction over this. That's a legal question.
Jonathan?
Yeah, yeah, it is a legal question. I mean, I think broadly the idea that this permit application was submitted for a reason. I think the applicant understands the jurisdiction of the HLC generally in these proceedings, right? And so I think the question that I'm hearing is, what is the city's authority to through its HLC to impose conditions of approval? And there's quite a bit there. In the quasi-judicial setting that we're in now, the commission is the judge. And in order to approve a demolition application, we have to ensure that, number one, the application meets the criteria of the code that are listed there specifically. And number two, that impacts are mitigated sufficiently such that the conditions, the criteria can be met with conditions. In this case, all conditions must be authorized by the code or otherwise reasonably necessary to ensure compliance with the approval criteria that the commission is applying. And so here, the operative provisions are listed in the secretary standards. I believe the chair listed off the standards of with which this application would be reviewed at the beginning of the hearing in the script. Those include the secretary standards for the replacement structure, and then for the demolition and the interim protections that we're talking about. Those are all listed in the City of the Dalles Municipal Code. I believe. Oh, Sandy, I think it's 11-12-80.
Yes.
Yeah. And so neither section authorizes any condition that permanently prohibits demolition of the structure. And I think the applicant, speaking to the applicant now, Sandy's staff report articulates that really well, that no one here is under the understanding generally that we have the authority to prevent you from demolishing your property because of its designation. With that said, there are still review criteria that we have to show are met. Frankly, the burden is on the applicant to show that the criteria are met. And its staff job is to apply the code fairly and to bring a recommendation to the HLC. And so without all the legal mumbo jumbo, the idea here is that in order for this demolition to proceed on this historic property, which is what I think it's 420, is that the address, 420 East 4th? 480 East 4th? 8th, sorry, 8th, my mistake. Did I mention I'm driving on Highway 84 right now?
And I'm soon to
Please
follow
be
you.
careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the address, the property is designated, but the garage is not. And so in that world, you're in the world of conditions of approval. If the commission finds that preservation, salvage, and reuse, again, those are the three that are listed in our code. So the authority for the commission to impose conditions of this approval are vested in the municipal code, chapter 11.12. There they are. Sorry, that was a lot of talking on my end, but they're all listed in the municipal code. And so we can't make any conditions that would otherwise be disproportionate to what we're talking about, which is why I'm trying to be really careful about saying, like, look, just because something is identifiable and historic does not make it all of a sudden required to be salvaged. But if it's identified, to your point earlier, I believe the applicant is who mentioned, like, well, how is she supposed to know? I think is what you said. How am I supposed to know if that little trinket over there is salvageable? And well, if it's identified as salvageable, I mean, or if it's identified as something that could be qualified that way, then it is. But I'm certainly not going to say that we have the authority to make you go hire a historic consultant to oversee the general contractor you have. We don't. And so we're really tempered here with this condition. I think the intent behind this commission, this is now, I'm speaking to my client, the city, through the commission. The intent behind these conditions is to ensure, just as Eric Gleason mentioned a few moments ago, some of the bare bones here would be documenting this historic property's garage and preserving it as much as we can and salvaging as much as we can that makes sense to do. But again, it's limited by things like cost. And certainly there's no world where the city is going to go after you for violating this if you're acting in good faith. And so we should structure whatever condition that we're doing here in good faith as well. Hopefully that's helpful.
Question.
Yes.
What does documenting mean? What does that entail? Is that what Eric has done already?
Well, so I've kind of documented the historic background, but then you document the physical structure. So take photographs of like all four sides and do measured drawings if we need and that kind of stuff, which I'm more than happy to do. I kind of do that all the time in my regular job. So
I'm happy to have you come over and we can talk and we can walk. Can't get on the side door because it's sunk too much, but you can crawl under the garage.
oh, okay.
Sign a waiver.
Exactly.
Well, maybe we can,
Yeah, Victor.
maybe we can just jump to, we trust you and you trust us, and let's just go.
It's not the same thing.
Let's just do this. Yeah, I think.
So you don't want to add a condition?
I'm fine with it as staff recommended, and I trust Katie and I trust Scott. If Eric Gleason wants to add something, I'm fine, because he knows this stuff better than I do, but I know the players involved and I'm good.
Thank you.
Is the plan to put up a plaque and a picture? I didn't see that in the conditions.
It's like I have a plaque in front of the house. Have one in it's faded, like Phil said, though.
I know. Yeah.
People stop by a lot. I mean, I get a lot of questions about my house and the trees. No one's asked about the garage.
It is kind of tucked away in the back there.
You can't really see it. But I'm envious of Angela's garage.
Yeah, we did not put a condition for a plaque or any kind of signage.
We could add such a thing. I don't know the plaque. I know the plaque discussion is during our goals session, but
So did you want to add in that condition of approval to try to reuse and repurpose?
yeah, I think I'd like to, but maybe without the shall in there. Is there a shall, or could we do
I
the
mean,
encouraged?
In my experience, the shalls are the conditions. That's a hammer.
Mhm.
It's the teeth to make sure it happens.
I guess I'm thinking that we don't need a hammer at this point, but
And we won't add the condition.
yeah,
I'll work with you. Thank you.
okay.
I'll just echo what Sandy just said, if it's helpful. I would, and if I said shall earlier, I apologize. I agree with Sandy completely. I think a may here as a encouraging, because frankly, it's in the city's interest to encourage historic preservation. Frankly, that's why we have an HLC. And so part of that historic preservation process is things like this, where documenting it, salvaging it, if feasible, and certainly not mandatory, but the maximum possible. It is the owner's property after all, and so I would highly recommend a may and not a shall. So I'm sorry if I misspoke earlier.
So could we do something like in recognition of the historic nature of the Otto House? We encourage the property owner to work with the HLC to document, salvage, and reuse as much of the garage as possible, as feasible.
I would love to use the wood. Wood's expensive.
It is expensive, yeah.
No, like Victor said, they don't want to really deal with pieces.
Do we have to make a motion to get an approval added on to the conditions of approval?
The motion would be made to whatever the motion language is in the staff report, but it would be, instead of as presented, it would be as amended. And you could say something like move to approve application, whatever it is, as amended by adding the following additional condition of approval and referring to the condition of approval on the record. And then that motion would need to be made and seconded and voted.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I guess I'll make the motion that we approve HLC application 222-25 with the added condition in recognition of the historic nature of the Otto House that the applicant work with the HLC to document, salvage, and reuse as much of the structure as feasible.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Tom. All those in favor, please say aye.
I
Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
I'm a non-voting member, but I would have voted in favor.
I believe I need a motion to be made though for recess.
Okay. I move that we take a very brief recess.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We will take a 3-minute recess. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 It's supposed to drive after dark. This is going to be interesting.
Okay. Okay, maybe I'll get your number. That work?
Yeah.
And I can give you my number too. We're just over.
So we have the resolution, goal set.
Morning.
You know, I'm the one who
After
incited Bill
the
to come
storm,
and
it was
testify
closed.
because he'd been complaining to me, and the chapel has that same.
One
that-
big-
Yeah, that's turned down signs, yeah.
Right. And so my
Message.
question is, and I think I read it somewhere, is the property owner is responsible for maintaining the sign.
That's what I've heard as
Yeah.
well.
So if there's if the
Okay.
HLC is supposed to approve a design, how does an individual property go about
Getting one of those.
getting it, well, or getting it
replaced.
fixed?
Yeah,
and replaced?
yeah. And I know Victor had mentioned putting something like that under continuous goals.
Uh-huh.
Because, yeah, I don't know, we don't really have anything. We're asked that common or frequently and yeah,
Yeah.
don't have an answer. We're
Well, it does say on here something about in fact, maybe after I came in and talked to Sandy the other day, the concept design for new historic building plaques. So that implies that there might be something new coming up.
Yeah, I mean, we've wanted a design or something, but I don't know who's gonna be hired ever to do that.
Tammy at Bonds is pretty
I
good.
love, that's my stepmom.
Oh, she's so good. She has done so much good work for the chapel and the fort. I mean, the other day she did some, I'd taken some photographs of chapel windows because I wanted to be at this Portland Roadshow thingy.
Yeah.
And
I'll try giving you a.
said, well, they're going to be floppy. You want them on corrugated backing? And
Yeah.
I said, sure. And she didn't charge for that. I mean, she's a good.
She's so amazing. I love her. She's helped me with some of my board games too. Like I've torn pieces that are like irreplaceable and I
Oh.
showed her a picture of it and she's like, okay, how thick do you need it and everything? It made me do
Oh,
like
that
board
is
pieces.
so cool. Very good. Well, I'm glad you had a good stepmom.
Yeah, she's a great one to have. So.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get up and walk around too for a minute. Oh. Because of this windstorm, my neighbor asking, I spent over half an hour picking up tree stuff out of the yard.
Yeah.
I mean, things that were 8 feet long and this big around. And we just had the trees pruned in the spring, so might as well have saved our money. But here's my neighbor behind saying, the lid blew off of my fig tree cover, you know.
Oh.
And so I'm saying, we looked and didn't see anything like that. And he said, well, it's those yellow and white school signs that had blown down onto the patio. So I get those back to him.
That's funny.
Yeah, we lost kind of a big branch, but not fell in the middle of the yard, so that was just fine.
I woke up from everything hitting the roof. We have a metal roof.
Oh, uh-huh.
We have an oak tree right next to us, so acorns all night.
Oh,
I'm like,
we
oh my
haven't had
God.
any acorns this year, but we have a white oak, a red oak, and a birch.
Where'd everybody go?
I guess they were just here
Like,
for
this is
one
late.
thing.
We're not here.
You're gonna bring in dinner?
No. I think I have some ideas. This whole next section. Sorry for the information.
Teamwork.
Hmm. Oh, I get it. Start the meeting again.
Yeah, we're all ready here?
Ready?
We're all back?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to.
Right, they're on your head, yeah.
All right, the Historical Landmarks Commission meeting is back in session. We left off on agenda item number 8, the passing the resolution, HLC resolution 20725. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move that we adopt resolution 207-25 from Katie Montag at 420 East 8th Street.
Thank you, Eric. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Victor. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Next up on our agenda is the 2026 goal setting. And I believe we were all provided a copy of the 26 goals, and I believe they are. Here they are. I believe we have short-term and continuous.
Yes.
Sandy, did you want to take us through this, or should we
Yeah.
make suggestions? How did you want to go about doing this
Let me
today?
just explain a little bit of the method behind my madness on this. So, how do I explain this? Over here. And I didn't put, I suppose I could put them up because it'll be hard to see though, the short term. I don't know if this is the right document. It's not the right document. No, that's not it. Hold on a minute. Bear with me. Gotta open these. I wasn't ready, obviously. So what I did is, let me open one more and then I'll share my screen. Thanks for your patience. Close that. Now I have 10 different documents open, so this should be fun. Share. Please work. Okay. So what you're looking at, and this might be a little hard to see, is the goals from this year that were adopted. They were 2025. I've fixed them to refix them. I edited it to reflect 2026 goals. So what we do is we'll go through this and then I have to take it to city council to let them know and they'll adopt them. But in looking at the goals, we had settled on this version of short-term goals 1 through 9, over 1 to 2 years. And then there's these continuous goals that are 10 through 28. And as I look at them, a lot of them seem to be a lot of action items, perhaps. And this is, I think, where we need to discuss this. It would have been good to have a work session on this. So this could be the work session, but I envision sitting around a table and discussing it, and that's just me. What I did is I took these goals, your attachment A, and I removed some duplicity and just removed some certain words, and that's your attachment B. And you're gonna have to kind of look at your documents because I can't show them at the same time. I mean, I could show them at the same time on the screen, but it might get a little wonky. Like number 2, I removed the words encourage the addition of and added the word add a student representative. Number 3, you can see the changes, number 4, 5, 6. So they got changed just a little bit. After that, on that document, attachment B, anything that you see renumbered is just that. It just got renumbered. It has no bearing on the text in this particular document. So there's that. Then what I did, just to clearly explain this for you, is on attachment C, I took the continuous goals that you looked at in the original format, attachment A, the goal starting with number 10, listed as continuous. Those are like your long-term goals. And I looked for duplicity, similar content, and combine them to try to condense it a little bit so that we're not being redundant with each one. And so those goals, if you look at that continuous goals document, attachment C, has taken a combination of the goals that are listed out, the numbers, you'll see them, and combine them into a single goal to try to capture those 5 or 6 goals into one. And can put that on a PowerPoint when we're ready to get to that component of this whole session. So that is how that came out. And so if you want now, we can go back to attachment B if you would like. That is the red lines that I did from attachment A, just removing some duplicative words or shortening it up just a little bit for flow. And then I can try to answer some questions you have about these goals. So I guess what you want to decide is if you like the way these look with the red line changes I've made, and I have a clean copy of this, and then we can go over each one of these to further clarify what's what with them. And I have some answers for some questions as they come up, hopefully related to grants and whatnot. And I have questions too, and that maybe we can better define these. And also I want you to think about if you want to continue with this format, or perhaps, and maybe we can come back to this in a January meeting with a final document, if you will, that I can send out once I fix it all up so we can get to council in February. If you want to do something more of a strategic plan type of outline where we have the goal clearly identified, what is the goal, and then what is the action to implement said goal. Some of these read as actions, updating the historic ordinance, apply for a grant, that's all action. And I have a format that we can present that in that might make it clear and a little more, obtainable. Typically, goals aren't going to exceed 8 at the most. I mean, our city council, I think, has 7. We have a very long list, and I want to find out how you want me to pursue the HLC's vision of, satisfying these goals. How do we want to work on this? Do you want to create some work for yourselves and work together and give me marching orders? And, how do we get there? So how do we move the ball on these goals is part of the conversation that I would like to have. Because otherwise, we're just going to keep bringing the same list, and it's like, why? And I have some explanations as to some of the whys tonight, but I'll get there after you start, where you want to go with this.
Would we be allowed, I don't know if it's against like city rules or anything, to like have a shared document like on Google Docs or something like that we can all kind of add things to?
I'll have to find out. That's a great question. I don't know if Jonathan's still out there. I know the Seltzers kind of sketchy on the highway, so.
Hopefully he's hung up and he's driving.
He may,
Yeah.
yeah, he may be off because we're not in the public hearing at this
Safe,
point.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's, I can find out though, a Google Docs out. Oh, hi.
Hi, everyone. Josh Chandler, Community Development
Josh.
Director. Yeah, I think we would have to do some kind of checking with IT. We're transitioning over to Microsoft 365 now. It's a little bit of a longer process. A Google Doc, typically in the past, we haven't been able to, but maybe with the new capabilities of M365, there might be a SharePoint option for us. But yeah, we could definitely look into that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
And then this question's more for Julie and Eric. I can't remember if Tom, I know you're new. Victor, I can't remember if you've done one of these before. But when we were setting our goals last time, wasn't there a reason why we broke up like every specific thing instead of one big goal, kind of like Sandy just did? Like where we had the Waldron Gitchell building separated from the Anderson Homestead, separated from the high school, and like I thought there was a reason why. I just cannot
Yeah.
recall what that reason is.
Well, I think the reason why was so that we would have focus. You know what I mean? And also because some of those things like the Fort Dalles Anderson Homestead Museum vehicle building is probably going to go out for grants. And if they can say that this building is one of the goals of the city through the Historic Landmarks Commission, then they could use that as kind of support for their granting.
They also have different owners or provenance. I think it's better to separate them.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying, you two. Appreciate
Thank
that.
you.
So commission, how would we like to go about updating our 26 goals? Sandy has laid this out very nicely. Would we like to kind of take this home and mull it over, shoot her suggestions via email, see if we can get a shared document that we can maybe all work on? Or did we want to just kind of make notes, come back at another meeting, try to hash it all out then? What is everyone feeling?
Yeah.
Oh, looking
Kind
at
of
you.
like the idea
Wanna
of
look at
thinking it through a little.
I do too. And,
Yeah.
and talking amongst ourselves about what changes we might want to see.
I think we have to be careful if we talk amongst ourselves, because I think then we might get a quorum if we have a certain
No, I
number.
mean,
Oh,
in a meeting setting.
okay, yes.
And would there be a way to do a little workshop or something?
I'm open to doing a work session. I'm not sure. I think we can do a work session. That's typically how goal setting is done. And I can give you some information to write down and absorb as you look at some of these that have to do with grants and all of that. And I can give you that information now if you want. It's up to you. But I'm open to making a work session meeting in January. We can maybe look towards the middle of January, and that would give us time to put everything together and reconvene. I have to look for the dates. If we set something up for middle of January and then reconvene at the typically scheduled HLC meeting to then finish them and, adopt them or move them forward to the city council, then we can get to council in February. So it would give us the rest of this year and then the first week and a half or so of January to work them out and then reconvene as a work session. And then we'll schedule it for the HLC meeting at the end of January. Is it the 14th? It doesn't give us much time. 21st. I'm looking at the wrong calendar. 21st is HLC. 28th. The 28th. So the 14th. Oh, it doesn't have to be a Wednesday either.
If it's just a work session.
If it's just a work session, we just do it. Let's try to do it at least, 2 weeks before the HLC meeting of the 28th. That'll give us time, and then we can find out from IT if we can do some sort of SharePoint between now and then. And then we'll have more to hammer out at a work session.
I would like that.
That would work. I think that would be good.
And I also like your idea of, what did you say it was, like, reformatting?
Like a strategic plan where we have the goal
I like
clearly
that.
highlighted and then the action we're going to take to obtain that goal and achieve it and move it off the list.
Yeah.
And I can send you like an idea of, we have our beautification program. They had a nice goal and action program, let's say. And our city council has one that is, I can send you a couple of examples of what I'm seeing for us to start thinking about how we want to place that. And also think about a mission statement. Do we have a mission statement for the HLC? That might be kind of fun to think about and put your stamp on it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think one thing to keep in mind is that these are your goals. They don't necessarily have to be presented at the council meeting in February. The city council's goal setting process has actually been going on now for a little while. Councilor Randall might be able to comment in on that of how long it's been, but it's been a little bit of a longer process than in years past. So I think that is going to be pushed maybe to the March time where a city council will be adopting. So it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly with the calendar year by any means. So yeah,
Oh, that's good.
if
Gives us time.
if the commission's looking for something different, we'd be happy to help. But as Sandy mentioned, we're looking for kind of that guidance of outlining the goals and then the actions to get to achieve those goals, kind of like in a comprehensive plan, if you will. Instead of rather this longer list. I think there's some things in here that are just standard of what the commission will always be doing. I think when we look at some of the preservation ones towards the bottom of those continuous goals. And I think for us, it allows us to strategize, trying to accomplish these actions. We had, I don't know, Sandy touched on it a little bit. We had applied for a rare this last year, and that rare we had made it to. We had one previously that helped put together the casting light project on the Waldron Drug Building, and we made it to kind of the first round of interviews, but then the federal government came through and wiped out the AmeriCorps program. So that was kind of a hit to accomplishing some of our goals. There was a work plan that was basically 40% of this individual's time was going to be focused on these HLC goals this last year. So unfortunately, we were planning for it and it didn't work out. So we're going to see how these grants might be able to assist coming up, as well as looking at a partnership with the University of Oregon to kind of move some of these forward. So it would help us, refine these a little bit more to know what our focus is going to be.
Thank you, Josh.
And I wanted to let you know that there's various grants out there, and I have a list of what they are and where we might be able to apply them related to the goals, which ones might fit in that box.
Urban renewal stuff? Is
Um,
that I was looking into that one.
Were you? Yeah, that's right. You mentioned that.
With the,
Yeah, it's, well, we have there's a cemetery grant, Oregon Heritage Grant, but that's awarded per biennium. So the next cycle would be in 2 years on that. Museum grant is to be determined. They're thinking spring 2026. The application's open late January. Preservation Oregon grant is, again, the application's open late January, and we would have to file a letter of intent. There's the CLG grant. The submittal date for that is February 27th of 2026. Certified local government, which is what we are, and the applications open up sometime this month, and I still haven't seen them listed. And there's several items that can fall in the boxes for those grants, and different amounts. And then there's part of the discussion here is applying for a preservation plan. We have to think about a preservation plan for where in the Dalles. We can't just take the whole Dalles and say we want a preservation plan for the Dalles. It's huge. And I looked up the definition for preservation plan, and it's in your attachment B here on number 3. It's defined as a strategic document that outlines the community's goals, objectives, and strategies for identifying, protecting, and managing its historic and cultural resources. And it should be consistent with Goal 5 of our comprehensive plan, which is the historic element. So that's a lot to take in. And it would be good if I could provide you maybe some examples of what preservation plan applications look like, or, I'm sure you all have a lot of input on that. That's your forte.
Yeah, I think, for a while, that's what SHPO was encouraging communities to do, was to come up with a community-wide preservation
Really?
plan.
Okay.
And I think maybe Oregon City did one and stuff. So
Okay.
that was one of those things that they were kind of encouraging and funding, those kind of things. So I think that's why we kind of included that language and that goal in there.
Community-wide. So I'll have to look into that. I can reach out to the SHPO representative that deals with the CLG specific grants and find out. I remember meeting her this last, December before 2024 at a conference. And she got me the preservation plans that I passed out to everybody earlier this year. So I can reach out to her again too, to see what are the parameters for that. Okay. And then,
yeah, we used to use our it used to be that the CLG grants were kind of automatically awarded to CLGs. I don't know if that still kind of probably has changed.
yeah.
But, we used to use that for some of that money for like the Pioneer Cemetery
I
work
see.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And to match staff time so that, I know one of our other things is HLC application fees, and we used to use that HLC grant to kind of offset some staff time for
Mhm.
doing things to help lessen the burden of application fees.
Well, and like the CLG grant, I don't think it's automatically awarded at all. We have to apply for it.
Yeah.
But we could use it towards a code amendment. So this whole number
Mm.
1, update the historic ordinance and design standards. We really want to update Chapter 11. There's a lot of hinky things in there, if you will. And working with it myself, it's difficult. So it really would be a good project. And we have some additional staff to help us with that and help us write grants. But we have to get on it because of these timelines that SHPO has listed on their website. And so I can send you, well, you probably know where to find it, but I can send you what I have found and what I've learned about a lot of these different grants. That's one thing. And then for like this goal number 2, add a student representative to the Historic Landmarks Commission. I guess I want the commission to think about the why behind that. And a student from where? The high school, the community college, somebody in a history major. If we can narrow it down so we can go after it, and I can, make some phone calls to the schools and say.
Kind of term, would it be a 1-year term?
Right. So think of the parameters that you want this to fall under and what that looks like and what is going to be the benefit. Could they potentially get an elective credit for it? Does it work towards their degree? What does that look like? Maybe have them work on a project specific. Maybe help with a detached structure that's listed as non-contributing. I mean, I don't know. Just to think about what would this student work on, and it would be a really cool project for somebody who's a history major or somebody's interested in historic preservation or archaeology or what have you. And I don't know how much those topics are discussed in school anymore. It seems like it's a lot of STEM programs now, right?
A kind of side question about the historic plaques.
Yes,
Bill
that's on here
brought up.
too. I have
And I was
information.
looking at the one on the historic St. Paul's Chapel, 601 Union, and
Mhm.
wondering, are the landowners, are the owners responsible for replacing those?
I don't know. That's a great question. I had information on the plaque.
Yeah, in the past, the Landmarks Commission, that was one of their things that we did was we reviewed the language on those plaques. And then the commission provided 50% of the cost. So the landowner paid for half the sign and then the Landmarks paid for the other sign half, I think out of our CLG grant.
Okay, and
Oh,
it looks like there's to develop a
number?
concept, a new concept for it.
Yeah, because I think the person that did those signs has since
Tired.
retired and is, so I don't think you can get signs that look the same as the old signs.
So we'd have a single supplier and then the landowner would go there to.
Yeah, we used to get them, I think, through a SHPO contact or something, but I think that person is no longer doing it. And they were kind of a SHPO approved format, and I'm not sure they have that anymore. So
and would you want to see the, and then another thing to think about, would you want to maintain the existing design or come up with a new design?
Whatever's easiest in order to get.
Maybe we can see the parameters, right? And if covered under the CLG grant.
yeah, and maybe we can get them more locally produced or something.
That would be
That'd
good.
be nice.
Be really
That
good.
would be really good. Yeah.
We have a whole fabrication program up at the college, so
Okay. That's great.
yeah, they would love that project.
And I think as we work through these, think of, well, you won't be able, I mean, I'll send you what the parameters are of each grant type that we have and that we can, the information I have of what can be included in that and come to some sort of consensus on what you want to include and what grants you want to go after.
Yeah, I think at some point, one of those grants that we were using for the signage
Mm-hmm.
no longer funded signage. So I think,
Were they really expensive? Do you remember? Like $100 or?
I think 165 or something like that.
But it's,
I'm sure it'd be more than that now.
Now, yeah.
And like number 5, support the creation of tours of historic properties. I think if we talk to Main Street or the Chamber to lead that, I can reach out to folks and find out, and our staff member that could work with us on this. I can get an update.
I really like the idea of having a goal and action steps.
I do
Because
too.
otherwise they're just kind of sitting there and hoping to happen.
Right? Yeah.
Too vague, yeah.
On number 6, we did add money to the city budget, and we're gonna look at the cemetery grant for anything related to the preservation and maintenance of the cemetery. I know the grants open for cemetery grants open in January, and the submittal deadline is in the spring. They didn't give a month, they just said spring 2026. So that's that one.
Yeah, that was one of those things that we used to regularly get a cemetery grant and then we'd hire Sally Donovan and Bruce Howard to
Really?
come and restore or reset a couple of headstones.
Right.
They don't do that anymore, but I think they passed it on to Dave Pinyard. So
Right, I've seen some of the cemetery grants out there that deal specifically with resetting the headstones. Another thought we had was if we want to create or fix the pathway within the cemetery, is it ADA accessible? Is that something maybe, I don't know, we have to think about what at the cemetery you want to put under a grant.
I don't think we could make that place
Yeah.
ADA accessible.
Probably not. Probably not. Oh, I had written down that some of the categories listed for the cemetery grants were protection and security,
Hmm.
restoration and preservation, education and training, research and interpretation in support of the cemeteries listed in the Oregon Commission on Historic Cemeteries. So some of the topics that they have listed for the cemetery grants that could go into that. And I can provide you that information so you can noodle on it a little bit and get together on it. Number 7, encourage a restoration of the upstairs windows of the Waldron Getchell building. There's been continual break-ins on that. We did have a new door put in,
Oh,
HVAC system recently, and there's still that discussion out there as to whether it's even safe to go in there to, let's say, remove windows. When I was given a tour of the building, just as an FYI, by our facilities, I went inside. I did not want to go up the stairs because I don't know if I'm going to fall through the stairs. It's dangerous. And there's a piece in the corner up by the very top off of the roof that there's pieces that are falling down. And so it's a discussion out there that I'm waiting to hear from our city manager back on as to the safety of accessing that building or not.
how do the windows get broken from the outside? People.
Oh,
come in?
they've been breaking in and, staying in there where it's warm and it's literally I've
The
had to
east
fortify it.
Door that they were breaking
Mhm.
into.
Oh, okay.
But I think, I talked to Matthew and he said they've replaced the lock or something. and
Right.
Since they have done that, it hasn't been broken into.
Right,
Good.
right. So that one's, I know it's always on the list, but we have to get answers as to whether we want to keep it on the list. It's a known historic building for sure. Update the historic inventories and encourage new nominations, number 8. We can look at some grants, and again, we were exploring a partnership with the University of Oregon to fill that gap that we had from the canceled RARE program, because the RARE program was going to provide approximately 40% of the work was going to be towards these goals and helping move these. So we're working on trying to get some more help on that. Number 9, research the historical significance of the Rock House. I have information on that, I think. And it was from the Columbia Gorge Discovery Center through several people. And Ann Moorhead had reached out on this. Yeah, I have the conversations that this person had went back to who it was owned by. It was owned by a railroader from Portland. There's information on it. Let me see.
Wasn't there a Chronicle story about that some time ago? Somebody had lived in it sort of relatively recently, like 20 years ago or something.
Yeah, I think I
Was it-
remember,
oh,
yeah,
it
somebody
was something-
that lived in it in the 80s or something, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't tell me on here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I remember that.
Not
there were no
everything is
definitive
digitized
answers
either.
given.
You have to go search through out at the old R&W carpet building. You have to go look through the.
Sandy, before we get too deep into everything here.
Oh, yeah. I'm
Did
sorry.
we want to do this tonight? Go single item? I mean, it is pushing 6 o'clock now.
It is.
So I just want to be conscious of everyone's time. And I thank you so much for your help. I don't mean to stop you.
Oh, you're fine. You're
Just,
totally fine.
Yeah, and there'd be an opportunity to add goals at the work session.
Mhm.
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if there's something you want to add before the work session, like I'm sure you could shoot Sandy or Crystal
Mhm.
like an email, and they can add it to that, and then we can discuss it there. But the one thing I want to advise everyone not to do is start shooting emails to everyone in the group because we'll get in trouble because
You're
then we'll
right,
have a
yeah.
quorum. We don't want to do that.
Right. And just so you don't go nuts, and I can send you this as an email to help you visualize this, but I took the continuous goals, those long-term goals, 10 through
Mhm.
28, to try to condense them into something more bite-sized pieces, if you will. And I'll just show you so that, and I know it's getting late.
That's attachment C.
Yes, attachment C, but it's busy on the eyes. It's overwhelming, and so I can send you a copy of this little PowerPoint. I took them, and what I did is combined goals, and I put the numbers from your attachment A where they're listed. They were redundant, repetitive, duplicative, and tried to condense them into a more bite-sized type of goal. And so on each one of these slides, each of these goals is condensed into one combined goal that takes pieces of each of those goals listed out, number 12, 17, 24. And so that's on your your attachment C, but below the combined one is two newly suggested ones, taking the combined one and breaking it out further. It's a little hard on the eye, so I can send you how I did it with each one of those. And it kind of just pulls in the combined goal here of all of those separate ones listed out.
Would it be useful to preserve those other individual
Mhm.
goals underneath as action items or?
Potentially, yeah, and maybe I can maybe write that up, or we can come up with that and then go over it and see what you think. And see, are they, they're action items, okay, so how does this go? Yeah, so maybe this becomes the goal. I'll go back to the very first one. This becomes the goal in numbers 12, 17, 24, 25, 20. Take pieces of those and make them into separate action items to obtain this goal.
Because the individual locations or whatever, we don't want to get those two folded in, otherwise.
No.
we could Look,
It's too much. It's too much.
this is nice.
Do we need a motion then to have a work session since it's not really a public hearing?
I don't know. I don't think so. It's not a public hearing item. This is a faux work session, but it just happens to be at the meeting. But maybe to be safe,
Okay.
cover ourselves, it can't hurt to make a motion, and that way that, make a motion to make a work session
For
to
goal
be
setting.
determined for goal setting.
Are those public sessions? They'd be noticed?
No, they're not noticed. No, it's just not to my knowledge.
If someone,
If you're a group together, you'll need to notice it.
Thinking.
yeah.
Upper
Audio
corner,
has to.
yeah. Okay.
I guess I'll make a motion that we table this discussion until we can get together and have a focused work session on goal setting sometime in middle January.
Do we have a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor of having a work session for the 2026 goal setting in January of 26, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it.
Okay. Thank you.
Next item is discussion. If anyone would like to make a motion, I would like to entertain this at the workshop as well that we have in January now. Because I feel it kind of works with our goal setting. Maybe we want to eliminate the fees, maybe we want to keep them, adjust them.
Let me chime in on that real quick, and I know Josh might have something to say on that. There is a citywide effort right now to adjust the fee schedule, based on various reasons. We're not in it to make the money per se. It's a break even. And we spend more money on newspaper noticing than we do the applications. That doesn't even cover the work that's put into bringing these applications forward. Just look at the memo, and there's alternatives there that if we retain the newspaper notice for all HLC meetings, the newspaper notice is part of the quasi judicial process that we have for land use applications, and the Chapter 11 of the code requires that we do a newspaper notice for HLC applications. And for demolition proposals, the newspaper notice is required, but it also has to be published twice. So we could limit the newspaper notice to just the demolition-related projects and not require it for the other HLC applications. That could lessen the cost. But there is definitely a discussion around the fees going up for the applications. And Josh might want to chime in a little bit more on this because he's more in tune with it than I am. So I don't know if we can table it or not. He can answer that question for you.
Yeah, I can answer real quick. So each year, the city adopts adjustments to the fee schedule. There are little tweaks here and there, but that's this time of year, and ultimately, all department heads are needing to submit their requests for fee increases by mid-January. And at this point, I am inclined to be increasing fees throughout our department not only to keep up with CPI at potentially a 3%, but also to address the growing cost of noticing requirements. As Sandy mentioned, these requirements are embedded into the Dallas Municipal Code, Title 11 for these for historic landmarks, and we're starting to see, this isn't to elaborate a little bit more. We're not looking at revenue. This isn't a revenue generation thing, or we'd be asking for way more than what we're asking for here. A modest 3% across all of our applications, I still don't think covers the cost of the time that goes into reviewing applications. And when you look at the cost of a newspaper notice at $157, averaging this last year, and the cost of an application is 85, doesn't take into the account staff time that goes into all of it. We're really just looking at cost recovery. So the proposals we have kind of in front of you, it could be tabled for another day, but I would just want to let you know that I would most likely, in that period of time before you meet, I would most likely be submitting my request to increase the fees. So I understand that the board had mentioned at the October meeting, as well as I wasn't at the November, but I think you all talked about it at the November meeting. There is a concern to not see these costs go up because it might discourage historic preservation. We hear that. So I just wanted to basically address your concerns, and I'll kind of give an alternative to how we can address this by still addressing cost recovery. The city of the Dalles by far is one of the more affordable when it comes to applications. And I think we're starting to see more and more cities are starting to see the rising costs of everything and application fees staying very low. So you start to kind of run into issues when, for a prolonged period of time, if applications are staying too low. So that's my spiel. I am happy to answer any questions that you all have about it.
Thank you. Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you, Josh.
Does everyone have the memo in front of them that shows the two alternatives from the board? So, okay. As if Josh would like an action tonight, I am leaning towards number 2, but I wanted to get all of your input.
Maybe I don't have it.
Is there a way we could get the memo pulled up with the alternatives? So,
Oh, let me see where it is.
Yeah, and I can chat through it a little bit too. I think when we talked about it at the October meeting, there was a mention that, maybe the newspaper notices aren't as effective as we think that they are. Typically, if we process historic landmarks, what our code says, we process historic landmarks applications as a quasi-judicial application. That's quasi-judicial is a term used in the land use system. It's not really a historic landmarks commission process, but even a quasi-judicial application, which would be in the land use world, an example like a variance or conditional use permit, even those applications are not notified in the newspaper. So I do think that there's potentially, when it was drafted, there was probably, more prevalence of the newspaper. I think it was used a bit more potentially before social media and websites and everything. So it's just that thing to consider. And the thought that we put in there is that if you look at maybe a historic landmarks application doesn't get noticed in the newspaper, but maybe a demo does, because a demo, when you're talking about tearing down a historic structure, maybe that is something that you all feel needs to have a little bit more attention to it. But I do think one of the board members mentioned at that October meeting, kind of questioned the effectiveness of a newspaper notice altogether. So if we are just throwing money at a newspaper notice because that's what the code says, maybe it's time for us to do a code change. But happy to hear what anybody has to say on it.
thank you, Josh. Yes, Victor.
Yeah, I think it was me. I don't know that many people under 50 read the newspaper anymore in print. So I don't know that it's really that effective, and I don't know if that efficient as far as resources and dollars. So But I do like, I mean, I don't like the idea of it not being put out there. So maybe there's a parallel way it can happen without the cost. You know, maybe on the Dalles.org, there's a place, maybe there's something already happening where notices go out digitally.
I have to check with state law because state law mentions paper in local circulation, paper on public
Okay, and I'm just
notice
talking
next to
about
public hearing notices. I don't know social media if we can count on that because from an equity standpoint, not everybody has access to the internet, so we have to think about that perspective on it.
right.
Could be posted on the website. Oh, it would anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's part
I
of,
mean, we're already talking about not putting it, right? Except for demolitions, right?
except for demolition.
Yeah,
Because we still send out a property owner
Yeah.
notice.
right.
Which the affected property owners, and that's that radius that I was mentioning last meeting, have to be notified of a project within that radius near them.
Right.
So they would get that in the mail. We would just remove the newspaper notice from that and just continue the newspaper notice for demolitions only.
I'd lean towards 2, I think.
And we talked about maybe requiring a sign at the property or something saying that that was,
Well, yeah, that I think is gonna be it's a policy discussion,
Code change.
because other cities, and it's done various ways, but lots of times a site is noticed with an actual notice put out there, 7 days or 10 days before a public hearing item or before a land use decision is gonna happen on that property. And different jurisdictions do it differently. Some, the staff goes out there and posts a notice. Other ones, the staff writes up the notice and leaves it at the front counter for the applicant to pick up, and they pay for the board, and they go put it at the property, and they submit an affidavit stating that they posted the site accordingly in accordance with blah, blah, blah. And so there's different ways to address that. I don't know how the Dalles has treated that in the past. I don't have the history here. I do know that we don't post physically on site like some other jurisdictions, and I'm not sure the why behind that, so I would have to look into that.
Thank you, Sandy.
Sure.
I guess I just think that we shouldn't be charging people for applying for historic landmarks. I think it'd be a way to kind of level the playing field, right? Because right now, it's if you don't have a historic property, you don't have to go through historic review. But if you do have a historic property, which is one of the goals of our community is to preserve those historic properties, then we shouldn't be,
Analyzing.
yeah,
basically.
yeah. I guess that's just my thought on the matter.
And I think if even not a philosophical thing, you just like the more the price of trash goes up, the more trash gets dumped in the forest, right? People just don't, not going to do it, So,
Right.
so the more it gets charged to do an HLC application, the less probably they're getting done. So, I
Right.
mean, if we want to accomplish our goals, which is what we're talking about,
Yeah.
part of that is, making it easy for people to
Valid.
be involved. Yeah.
Valid concern. It's tough, because we all need groceries, but grocery prices are up. So what is the decision in the end? Not to eat?
Mhm.
So it's tough. It's tough. When anything comes to fees and people having to pay for things, it's what's the balance? So that's
And I know we used to use that CLG grant to kind of offset that, right? To pay for some of the staff costs and things like that. And I don't know if that's still part of the CLG grant, but.
I don't know. That's an interesting to have a little
Mhm.
set aside, if you will.
Maybe HLC could apply for a Oregon Cultural Trust grant to offset some of the fees.
Yeah.
Interest bearing. Good one.
It's not a bad idea.
How much will the new fee be? It's 85 now.
I don't know. I think Josh is working the numbers to see
I
what's
think
going
it
to make
says
sense.
here, would cost of newspaper publication approximately 210, while all other
Okay.
HLC applications would be adjusted only as needed to reflect the CPI. So I think they said 3%.
Yeah, at a minimum, 3%. Yes, paragraph 3 of the memo.
Yeah, I think, yeah, to that, I mean, if we don't consider the notice, it would probably just be a 3%. I'm speaking on behalf of, kind of have to put on the city's fiscal responsibility hat here of, staff time. Employee benefits go up every year, salaries go up every year, and applications are staying incredibly low. Lot of different communities. I know at one point I was working with the city of Hood River. They were trying to put cost comparisons together, and they brought in the city of the Dalles compared to these other communities for a cost comparison on their end. And because the Dalles costs were so incredibly low, it threw their average out so far.
Outlier.
You know,
Was the outlier.
We're the curve buster.
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I hear you. We want to encourage historic preservation, but I also, as the director of the department, have to see the amount of time that goes into an application, that goes into coordinating. I mean, here tonight, we discussed this Montauk application. It was an $85 application, the amount of time that Sandy put into it, as well as the city attorney, as well as myself. There's a lot of time that went into it. And that's what I say. I came from the private side before I worked for the city. I'm definitely not trying to have a conversation about generating revenue whatsoever. It's all about cost recovery. And I think the biggest one is just looking at that glaring cost of a newspaper notice and if it's really needed. And and if the board feels that a newspaper notice isn't needed, then it's an easy code change for us. It's something we can move through the process on. And that's kind of that option too. If they're part of the discussion is, does the board really feel that a newspaper notice is needed? And it seems like there's, some comments here this evening that maybe it's not. When we send out notices for these applications, we do have a media group that we send it to through our email system. It's not a official legal notice that's printed in the classified section of a newspaper, but it does go to our local news outlets. So that is occurring with every application that goes out the door.
So Josh, if we would like to eliminate the newspaper cost and go about doing that, would we have to take any action tonight or
No.
because it's this code?
Yeah, no. So it would be basically, I mean, really kind of looking for a consensus if that's something that you're all interested in. It would be a code amendment process though, and that would be a process we would want to bring in front of. That might be a good segue if I could at least just get a consensus that you'd like to see the newspaper notice go away. We could bring that up at your goal setting and kind of take the board's word for it that I won't be requesting this noticing coverage, at least this time around. So I think that would probably be enough to see exactly what you want to do at your upcoming work session.
Thank you, Josh. So how do we feel about that? Do we want to do that? Do we want to take one of the actions staff has proposed?
Non-voting member.
Like option 2?
Yeah, well, I think if it helps keep the fees in check, we should scale back the publishing.
Okay. So we don't want to ask the staff to work with us to update the code.
If you choose alternative 2, we would have to update the code.
Okay, we would be doing
Yes.
it too. Okay.
Because we'd have to remove that.
Okay.
Eric?
How you feel?
Yeah, I think alternative 2 is fine. I mean, I think in this day and age, maybe newspaper notices are not as effective as they once were.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to see us replace it with something, because I mean, that's the whole idea of noticing is so that
People notice it.
interested parties.
So
are
we do the
informed.
property owner
Yeah.
notice cards, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I like Josh mentioned that it goes out to media. There's a media
Yeah.
blast that
Oh, there
goes to
is.
whether they publish it or not, but at least it's getting out there.
Yeah.
True.
So it sounds like the consensus of this commission is to go with alternative 2.
Yeah, and I think and thank you to the board. And I think this board showed a lot of passion tonight in the past conversation about the Montauk report that we were talking about here. And I think what this does is I know you want to preserve the history But I think it raises that question, if an applicant wants to go forward with a demolition, which is something that you really need to think long and hard on with the demolition, adding that additional fee, maybe it is not, it is something that, I don't know if the applicant would need to think long and hard on, if they really want to remove that, if they can preserve it, whatever the case may be. Maybe there was some hesitancy in wanting to see the building demolished this evening, or approval for it. And by adding the additional fee, not to hurt the applicant or the property owner, but I mean, like I said, it does kind of keep that, there's that additional notice out there for the community.
Thank you, Josh. So is that all that staff needed from us for the application fees at this time?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, staff comments.
I have no comments.
No-
I would like to say that I appreciate your passion for the preservation and looking out for the historic sites of the Dalles and all the history here. It's really neat. And so I enjoy working with you on this, and thank you for hearing me out on some of these thoughts and trying to organize the goals a little bit.
Thank you, Sandy, for all
Thank
your
you.
work.
Appreciate it.
All staff is very helpful. Then we're moving on to commissioner comments. Any comments, commissioners? We can be brief or none at all, whatever.
Yeah, I guess my only comment would be in just response to Richard Wolf's questioning of the the qualifications of the board, and that we are kind of, as a certified local government, we're kind of required by SHPO to maintain professional qualifications on
Mhm.
boards. Not like we're all just appointed here kind of willy-nilly.
Yeah, it's not once you're appointed, you're here for life. You're
That's
getting
true.
reappointed. So.
But yeah, there are qualifications that the Landmarks Commission has to meet to qualify for certified local government recognition.
Thank you, Eric. Victor?
Yeah, I would say, I appreciate all your hard work, all, staff, Josh, appreciate Mr. Cara piping in at really good moments tonight, was very helpful. So yeah, no, I thought it was a tough situation. I think they blew it when they didn't put that garage on the thing, but here we are. So it's like, you can't go back in time.
And the applicant has been working with me diligently because there's been a lot of back and forth, and from the moment it got submitted.
He's
So
in good faith, and yeah, it's just kind of an odd situation.
It is.
So, and that's why I think it's important. We're going to update the inventory.
it's a
stuff.
learning opportunity
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, for sure. We're going to update the inventory and make sure we don't do that
Yeah.
very often, hopefully.
Thank you, Victor. Julie?
Nothing about the museum except it's closed right now, but will be open in January. Eric, is that right?
Yeah, I
Or
think
February.
Oh, yeah.
beginning of the new year.
Wonderful. Thank you. Tom?
Thank you for the comments and review. I concur with everything said there. The main concern I have is how long that took since September, right? So in
Well-
my mind, a goal should be,
Yeah.
how can we fast track? If I got to show up to another meeting or whatever that looks like,
Mhm.
it shouldn't be now delayed because of weather.
Well, and that's the tricky part, because we typically have a certain amount of days to review an application and make sure we have all the items we need before we move forward with it. And I was missing certain items that the applicant had to get to me. And I agree, it's tough because she's up against the weather. Two parts to that: our land use process, typical land use projects, there's a 30-day completeness review period in state law, and we have to make a determination whether the materials submitted or not are enough for us to move forward. Did they address the review criteria spelled out in the code? If they didn't, it's incomplete. They have to get us this and that and the other, whatever we're missing. Or if it's deemed complete, then we start the clock, and we have, per state law, 120 days to get to a final decision on said land use application. The historic projects are a little different. Still trying to find those in ORS, or Oregon Revised Statutes, if they fall under that same timeline or not. but I didn't have enough information to move forward with it on initial submittal. And it was a lot of emails back and forth to get what we needed. That aside, I hear your concern on that, and we are embarking on process improvements for the department, internal review, processing timelines, and trying to streamline our application reviews and our projects. And a lot of it is towards the needed housing and trying to streamline those processes to get people out there and get them working and let's go, right? So I know it's the weather now for sure. So
Well, and in this specific case, she had a big family emergency.
it wasn't a
going on,
family
too.
emergency
There was-
that you couldn't get out of, right?
was
And so she was dealing with that, and that was an unexpected thing. So yeah, this one turned into a lot.
Yeah, certainly.
Doesn't, it was unusual.
But I think as far as the fees and things, I bet people would be willing to pay more to make it go faster even.
Yeah.
So that might be
things
an
like
option.
that.
That's a good point.
Move to the front of the
Yeah,
line.
yeah, that's
That's a really good
An
idea,
incentive.
actually. But I did,
There's incentives for things like that. I've seen other jurisdictions do it. It's an interesting concept.
Does it work?
I don't know.
looks great for rich people.
Don't know. That's,
Time is money, so even the not rich people know that they
Yeah.
can spend more money to make this go faster.
Right.
But
some jurisdictions do that. I haven't looked at the data to see if it's working or not, but,
And sometimes.
Yeah, I think, we do appreciate the comments. One of the challenges we do run up against are incomplete applications. Incomplete applications can drag projects on. We can always do better. As Sandy mentioned, we received a grant from DLCD to kind of work through, try to streamline some processes. We'll be taking that on in the next few months. But yeah, that can always be not getting the information that we need to truly evaluate the application. And I think at the last meeting, I believe the board felt that they didn't have enough information then either. So it was one of those, we try to assist the best we can. But yes, we appreciate the comment. Always open for those suggestions, really. We are striving to streamline our processes the best we can, keeping in mind we probably will not implement an expedited fee to have you jump the line, but it's a great suggestion. No, but we do strive. I push the team sometimes. Whether they like it or not, I do push. I do think honestly the land use process, the planning process is slow. I'll fully admit that, and I kind of sit in that system. So all about the suggestions. Thank you, board member Jamay, for that. We do. We'll strive. We can always do better.
Yeah.
Yeah, Victor.
Well, I'll tag on to that, Josh, and I'll say I've been going through the planning department for a decade on my own project, and I would say right now things seem like they're going pretty well. Like, to me, from my vantage point, you guys seem to be doing a good job. So I appreciate the tweaks you're making, dialing things in.
Thank you.
Are there any further comments from the commission tonight? Seeing none, I would take a motion for adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
Second? All right, we have a second. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.